I chose cognitive development as my subject to research. This interests me in particular as I'm able to directly relate it to my life as I watch my two children grow. From the moment my children were born, they were placed on my chest, and immediately I was struck by the innate need for closeness to another human being, their fascination with the human face, and the reflex to suck. How amazing that an infant only a few minutes old is able to do these things. These are examples of innate reflexes as described by Piaget. This is my son Slater, who is 3.5, and my daughter Macy, who has just turned 1. While completing research on this subject, it occurred to me that a lot of information I already knew, but I was not aware of the correct terms or the theorists behind them. It soon became obvious that the nature versus nurture debate was the main issue while researching cognitive development. It was once believed that a newborn was a blank canvas and how they developed was as a result of experience. Cohen notes that since the discovery of DNA, this viewpoint has changed. Different genes have been discovered to be the cause of many factors, including personality traits such as intelligence and creativity, therefore concluding development is influenced by our genetic makeup. Sandrock discusses research conducted with children whose parents were on welfare compared to children who had working parents. It was shown that the language development in particular was heavily affected in those who were in low-income families. Research conducted by Shun, Jones, Cheng and Morn backs up this theory, showing that persistent poverty can have a big impact on a child's development. Piaget's theory is represented by stages. He argued that a child will work through these stages periodically, which provided insight into why children could not accomplish some tasks at different ages. Piaget believed that cognitive development was as a result of biology, hence children will naturally move through these stages given they are provided with the right external experience. Providing a child with exposure to free play is imperative for their cognitive development. As stated by Piaget, every time a child is prematurely taught something which a child could have discovered on his own, he is deprived of the opportunity of discovery and thus the opportunity of proper understanding. Vygotsky was a Russian theorist who challenged Piaget's theory and instead argued that a child's cognitive development was mainly as a result of their experiences. Vygotsky was of the view that both language and internal thought developed independently of each other. It was not until the child was in between the ages of 3 and 7 that they began to think internally and began their own private language. This private language is an imperative tool for a child's cognitive development. He also proposed the term zone of proximal development, a concept that someone requires scaffolds, being their peers, caregivers, teachers, etc., to assist in the learning of a new skill until they are able to complete the skill on their own. Learning how to crochet is an example of my own. Initially, I sought out a friend of mine who knew how to crochet. She then advised of the materials required and showed me some simple stitches. I was then directed to YouTube videos and moved on to patterns. I am now able to crochet without the assistance of these scaffolds. I have here an image of my son's attempt of writing his own name. At this time, he still requires my assistance in learning not only the spelling of his name, but the letters themselves and how to write them. Drawing from Vygotsky's theory, I have learnt that it is important to assess each child's zone of proximal development and develop a learning plan based on this. I would also consider the assistance of higher skilled peers as scaffolds, which would of course take the pressure off me as a teacher. I would also consider the theory of student-centred approach as described by Piaget, the idea that the child is interested in the activity and that the activity itself is self-managed. As the child finds the task itself engaging, they are able to learn through trial and error. The main points I can gather from my research regarding childhood development would be the debate over the importance of either nature or nurture, taking into consideration Piaget's stages of development to ensure age-appropriate tasks, and Vygotsky's theory of the zone of proximal development, which I discussed earlier. When discussing the needs of children, it is important to take from both sides of the debate. Children require a place to discover things on their own to make sense of their environment. However, in many situations, children will also require support from their scaffolds. We must also keep in mind that it's important to provide tasks appropriate to their skill level. Finally, it is important for caregivers to provide a supportive and engaging environment, to be the child's scaffold when required, and also provide a time for the child to play freely.